Hey, yeah, if I don't hustle, I don't benefit. That's the only thing I know. If I don't hustle, I don't benefit. That's the only thing I know. If I don't hustle, I don't benefit. And that's the only thing I know.
What's going on, world? It's your boy Bootstrap Bentley with another book for y'all today. I know it's been a while. I'm back in the spot. Today, book I'm bringing y'all is by my guy, Young Jeezy. He has a book called Adversity for Sale. It's an autobiography about his struggles, rise to fame, and transition to a new stage in his life. So we're going to celebrate that. What I like about the book is his rawness, storytelling. He makes it a point that his life experiences really influence the music that he makes. I like how he gave his definition of trap and what the trap mean to him. He was saying like how the trap is anywhere you get money. Any style, way you get money, that's the trap. That's how you move, operate, and get to the bag. So I like that he was trying to give all his perspectives on his come up. I also like how he took the time to talk about different family members that influenced him, different family members that poured into him. I think sometimes we live in a world where we try to act like we're self-made and nobody helped us along the way. Nobody poured into us. Nobody helped us see a grander vision of life and what it takes to get there. The fact that he does take the time to acknowledge different people that played different roles, whether good, bad, or indifferent, to make him be motivated to elevate his life is always important. I appreciate his honesty about jail and how black males from the hood, how we come from the hood and we act like going to jail is a badge of honor and doing little bits here and there makes you a man. But we don't really equate all the time that we're taking away from our families and how much wasted time we spend away from nurturing the people that mean most to us. And like he said, you end up becoming a bill instead of helping with the bills. I like how he also spoke about his time he spent at Fort Stewart. And I personally enjoyed that story because I know about Fort Stewart. I had a brother that served in Fort Stewart down there off of Hinesville, Georgia, in Liberty County. I got friends out there to this day. And it was a culture shock when I first moved there. I'm originally from New York. It was a culture shock. And to be out there and to actually make friends, it'll always be a part of me. So to see him, incorporate a story about Fort Stewart, that was like, oh, I know about them parts right there. So I respect that. And just like most hustlers that start out and they see that the game is going good for a while and then it end up flipping, twisting, and turning, you like, yo, I got to make a transition. I got to make an exit. It's crazy how most hustlers end up trying to transition into hip hop, or they try to bag the swag, the ego, the mindset, and put it into music. And a lot of people are not successful, to be honest. But for him to be able to make that transition, even deal with the adversity of people saying he can't rap, and still turn around and make great music, make iconic music, make anthems, make hits that rang from the first time he came out, boom, boom, clap, to, you know what I mean, I love it, to even now, he got some joints that I still haven't, I still bump that. I like how he spoke about when he met Big Meech, through a partner named J-Bo. It's the saying that goes, money attracts money. So Jeezy put himself in a position to stand out, stand tall in any room he went into. That's just a folklore of the streets. In that, he was able to meet people. Because when you stand out a certain way, people know how to approach and respect you. Because they see how you approach and respect yourself. So my message to up-and-coming entrepreneurs, artists, or anything you're doing, always invest into yourself. Always try to find a way to make sure you stand out in the rooms. When you go to these entrepreneur conferences or different meetup and groups, make sure you establish yourself in a way where you can attract that business or that business mind that you're hoping to do business with. So I think that was a grand point from the streets to the corporate world. Always invest in yourself. And I like how he spoke of his admiration for Meech. Like he was a very smart, talented, powerful visionary who was cool, down to earth at the same time. And it was interesting how he spoke about how Meech was the first street dude to bring them foreign cards out to Atlanta, bringing that real player style. It's just different coaches. Not to say that Atlanta didn't have his own style or player style, but he brought them foreigns out. That's what they keep saying, at least as far as streets is concerned. And he definitely was just reminiscent of all the things that he'd been through in that time, which once again was good, bad, and ugly. A fun fact I found was I didn't know that he chose the name Jeezy off the word, playing off of Lil Wayne's Lil Weezy. I would have never known that until I actually got a chance to experience the book or whatnot. I always just thought that was his name. I didn't know that he was running around with Lil J. Like I said, I'm not from Atlanta to know that, but to see that even just admitted that compliment to Lil Wayne and said, yo, Lil Wayne was rocking with Lil Weezy. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be Young Jeezy. I like how he mentioned the many failures that he made in his music when he decided to get into music. He even called his own music trash at one point. I think sometimes when we think about failure and we think about trying, we always just want to succeed. We only want to win, but we don't think about the lessons and all the great things that we learn and losses that we learn and failing. That's the saying that go fail fast and fail often, because that's where the lessons are. You will never learn to be great if you did everything right from the door. And that's in anything, man. In building relationships and creating a business and going through a class, going through jobs, trying to find yourself. Be willing to fail. Be willing to open yourself up. Be vulnerable, and then allow yourself to learn and grow and come back stronger. We all know that they talk about the strip clubs being the A&R of the music in Atlanta. And he spoke how you could go to a strip club and almost run into anybody from any walks of entertainment, fashion, music, business. You might bump heads with anybody in this space because the strip club has become such a big part of the entertainment scene and sports scene in Atlanta. Now, I'm no strip club savant, but I believe when you're trying to reach out to different people, you might catch them at a place, a lot of activity going on. We'll leave it at that. I like how he spoke about meeting Jazzy Faye as a turning point in his music career. And he mentioned something that I will leave the question out to the viewers. He said, when you connect with someone new and they give you their number to follow up, when is it a good time to follow up? Sometimes we try to play it too cool. We wait a week, 2-3 weeks. He said he called him right as soon as he got an opportunity, maybe a day or two later, to try to get the business rolling. And I'm a firm believer of that. I feel like don't give a person your number if you don't expect them to follow up. I think being real and being honest and saying, hey, I appreciate what you got going on, but I can't do nothing for you, is realer than, hey, call me. And then when that person call you, they feel like they irritating you or they bugging you, or you feel like they bugging you after you done exchange your number. And this person hoping that you was a connect to help them with business or help them with an idea or help them get something off the ground. So I think when networking, be mindful of that, because some people are in desperate situations where they feel like this is their way out. Whether it's a job, whether it's listen to my mixtape, watch my movie, I'm a model, whatever the case may be, don't be too shy to say, I can't do nothing for you. Even if you are doing better than a person or feel like you got more connects, a network, a broader network. If you can't do nothing for someone, just be honest about it, because that person might be hitting you up thinking this thing about the road. This is my out, I also like how he described Big Meech's 36th birthday. And it just reminded me of the scene in Paid in Full, where Ace was talking about the scene, on the block where everybody was up there and they fly his clothes, the nicest cars, throwing money around. It was like the moment in the sun. And I felt like that's how he described Meech's 36th birthday, with African, safari theme or whatnot. Everybody had to show up with camouflage, and it was just an over-the-top party. But he was talking about the time that they were all on the stage, and it just felt like a moment in the sun, but it was also a turning point because it brought out the good people and the bad ones, depending on what side you're on. He also spoke about a moment with T.I., where T.I. tried to talk to him about giving up the street life and really commit yourself to music. I think a lot of guys who come from the streets and try to figure out and navigate these waters of, to be honest, I think just growing up in certain environments, you learn certain lessons and ways and formulas of how to approach life, how to get to the bag or whatever you want to call it. It's hard to just make that full stop and make that full transition. To see this brother decide to try to make that change, and then to see somebody else say, hey man, if you're going to commit, you got to commit. Ain't no two ways about it. That's always a turning point, always a moment where you have to really look in the mirror and say, what do I want out of life? Do I want to be a street legend, or do I want to be iconic in other arenas? Obviously, we know what Jeezy decided to do. There's always a debate when it comes to trap music, and his take on it was that trap music wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for him, because he feel like the life he was living, the people he was around, actually laid the foundation to trap. Now, I'm an outsider. I can't tell you who started trap music. You know, just from the outside looking in, I'd say the grandfather of trap music got to be like Master P and J Prince and 8 Ball and MJG and UGK. I think a lot of them brothers was laying the foundation. And me being from New York, you could say Coogee Rap. From the West Coast, you could say Ice-T and Too Short and E40. Like a lot of these guys, they were talking about a lot of real things. Even though it didn't have that hard 808 beat that we're used to and accustomed to when it comes to traditional trap music, I think the content and the subjects that people were talking about was very real and a lot like what you hear today, but probably on a different beat. I also enjoyed how he talked about his thought process for some of the most iconic songs he ever made. It was like a trip down memory lane for me when I was hearing him talk about different records that he was thinking about or how he came up with different songs. Like some of these songs were iconic and some of them was simply made, you know, some of them took a little bit of time, but to actually hear him talk through like the thought process, it's almost like, you know, hearing an athlete talk about their training, how they came up with this iconic shot or this signature move or whatnot. So it's like to hear the brother go through like step by step of what he thought about this record and what made him come up with the record was kind of cool. If you're a fan of Jeezy and Atlanta music as a whole, you know about the Jeezy Gucci beef. So he did mention it. He told his side of the story, what he feel like and thought the beef started and how it basically snowballed into something uncontrollable with Gucci making diss records, Jeezy responding, Jeezy putting out bounties, Gucci. Y'all know the whole story. It's senseless when the violence came in, but what I would say, I think that it was needed. As far as still sharpening steel, I think Jeezy and Gucci are iconic in their own way. I think they needed each other because in my mind, you need a enemy. You need a nemesis. You need something to compare yourself and to fight for your future. Like if there's nothing to make you want to get better, sometimes you won't get better. So I remember Michael Jordan mentioned how he had just come up with different things in his mind about athletes saying something, even if they didn't say something, or if they made a joke about him having a bad game, a bad shot. That's all he needed was that seed to be planted so he could get better. So when I look at them brothers, I think they needed that so they could make some of the best music, because it's like now you go from not liking a person to I'm about to make more hits than this person. I'm about to make more songs. I'm about to drop more mixtapes. I'm about to, rock more crowds. I'm about to hit more cities. And it only made the game stronger. It only made them better as artists. And I'm glad that today they see themselves as better men. And just like any great hustler story, it comes to an end. I think when you make a full transition from the streets to any industry, to trying to open up a business, to trying to do anything positive, it's always hard. You almost, because you build such an identity, just living that type of life that you almost like don't know nobody else. You don't know how to even look at yourself differently because you probably done been through so many traumatic moments just trying to survive the streets. And to see it all come down, to see the indictments come down, to see your friends getting murdered, to see friends going to prison, it's always hard to finally come to terms and say, hey, man, I need to make a change or I'm going to end up like that. But then it's like, if I do make this change, would the people respect me? Would the streets still love me? Like that famous scene in Paid in Full. He also spoke about meeting with Jay-Z, how influential Jay-Z was when he met him. He felt like, this guy come from a world that I'm familiar with and made the transition into entertainment and made the transition into business and kept his cool. I mean, everybody loved Jay. Even if you don't like music, you have to respect a lot of the moves he done made. So like to be able to get a friend out of Jay-Z at a time when your world is collapsing and everything around you personally is changing was just like a right on time moment for him. And I think that's dope. In a sense, whatever you believe in, find ways to create a guiding light for you out of dark places. Not saying that Jay-Z was the only light for Jeezy at that time, but for him to be able to relate to some of the things that Jeezy was going through and share wisdom and almost be that crutch to help you through it was kind of dope. And obviously they done went on to make some iconic music together themselves. Jeezy got a bar where he say, he got more songs with Jay-Z than Biggie Smalls, which is true. I think that's dope. In closing, man, I say, Jeezy definitely is a rose that grew from the concrete. He's a go-getter, a soul survivor who put on for the city, all by doing it in some Air Forces, whatever the Air Forces, right? It says making a transition from the streets to any type of legal life is probably the hardest thing a person can do. Because in the streets, we create a mask almost like a superhero that's numb to pain, to losses, and to crime. But like most comic books, even superheroes die. So I commend Jeezy. I enjoyed the book. I'm not here to judge what stories were real and what's not. I leave that to the streets, and I leave that to the real diehard Jeezy fans. But I would say I relate to the stories because I personally know how real it is to deal with the pain and struggle and failures and success he painted in the pages. So just like any other episode, man, to that, we raise a glass. Till next time.
Hey, yeah, if I don't hustle, I don't benefit. That's the only thing I know. If I don't hustle, I don't benefit. That's the only thing I know. If I don't hustle, I don't benefit. And that's the only thing I know.